If you want to be able to share your resources across many different projects that are going on at the same time, then I'm going to show you how to create a resource pool. Basically, it's a separate project file that contains only resources. And in there, you can take those resources and assign them to tasks in one or more project plans or projects that are going on at the same time. For example, let me come over here and double-click and open up my exercise folder here on the desktop. You can see right here I've got a training manual resource pool file. Now in this file, the only thing that I have are my resources, my writers, editors, publishers, my material resources like printers and paper and so on. And so over here I've got my two projects that are going on at the same time. I'm creating a training manual for both Access 2007 and also Excel. So having a resource pool eliminates the need for project managers to re-enter resources in one or more project plans. Also, it'll keep the sharer files, in other words these files that the pool is sharing with, it'll keep them centralized so they're all pulling from the same resource pool. And that way they'll be consistent and a current source of resource information, and it's going to help prevent over-allocation. So if I have resources in this file and the same resources in that one, I'd have to open up both of them to find out, okay, am I using writer 1 in this one as well as that one on the same day? Too confusing. If I can go ahead and use it from the pool, it'll actually show me if that resource is over-allocated or being used on the same day in my own project plan here. I don't have to go to somebody else's project plan. Again, they're going to be linked up to the resource pool. Now, before I go ahead and open up the resource pool that I created, I want you to know that I already have it linked to my Access 2007 Training Manual project. And what that means, linked, it means that the resources here are already being shared in the Access 2007 Training Manual. And then what I'll show you is how to go ahead and take that pool and share it with other projects. But the reason why I tell you that before I open this up, because when I open it up, it's going to say this file is the resource pool for many projects. What do you want to do? In other words, it already sees itself being shared or linked to at least one or more project plans. You got three options. You can open up this resource pool for read-only, allowing others to work on projects connected to the pool, meaning that they can come in here in the pool and update the different resources, add resources, delete them, change their standard rates and so on. Or you can open this up in read-write so that you can make changes like the pay rates, etc., but this prevents others and locks them out from updating the pool with new information. So, in other words, only one person can update this pool at a time. So either you open it up in read-only and somebody else can open it up and read-write, or you open it up and read-write and nobody else can open it up and read-write, but they can only read-only. And then finally open resource pool read-write and all other share files into a new master project file, which is what we're going to be covering in the next training video, how to create a master project file. We'll just open it up and read-only and click OK, and then up at the top it tells you in the title bar that you have the resource pool open up as read-only. Again, all I have in this project file are a listing of all my resources. If I come over here and right-click on the collapse view bar and go to the Gantt chart, no task, no project, again, right-click and go back to the resource sheet, I only have resources. Now, if you don't know which project this resource pool is being shared with, you can come up here in the resource pool project file, click on the Tools menu, go down to Resource Sharing, and go over and click on Share Resources. And I'll show you right here the link that goes over to this project file right here on my desktop, Access 2007. Let me close out of here. So in other words, when I open up Access 2007, it's got basically a link to all these resources here that I can go ahead and assign and use these resources in that project or on that project. In fact, let's go ahead and close out of the resource pool here. Select File, go to Close, and let's go ahead and open up. Let me go to the desktop in my exercise file folder. Let's go ahead and open up the Access project file, double click on it. And because it's using the resource pool or the resources found in that project file called the resource pool, it's going to say this file shares resources from that pool. What do you want to do? If you open it up, it'll actually open up the resource pool, but when it opens it up, it'll actually link up and it'll show you the resources that are available in that pool on your project's resource sheet. Let me show you. If I go ahead and leave it like this and click OK, down at the bottom you can see it open up the Training Manual resource pool in read-only. And then of course if I go back down to the taskbar and click on my Access 2007 Training Manual, of course that's open. So if I come over here and right click on the collapse view bar and go down to the resource sheet, you can see it's got a listing of all the resources here that's being pulled from that resource pool. Now let's go ahead and close out of here and not save it. Go ahead and close out of the resource pool. And let's open it back up again, the Access file. Click on the Open button, double click on Access, And let's say that we don't want to open up that other resource pool file. When I click OK and I right click on the collapsed view bar and go down to the resource sheet, you'll notice that it only has 2 resources here. It doesn't have a list of all the other resources because that little prompt window, we said that we didn't want to open up the share file, so it can't make the link here. The reason why these 2 are here is because when I right click on the collapsed view bar and go back to the Gantt chart, those are the 2 that have been assigned previously to these tasks here, so at least it copies them over here. But next time when we go ahead and open up Access again, we want to, or I recommend that we open it up with that link to the resource pool. Okay, so let me go ahead and close out of here, and I won't save it. And let's open up the Excel project by clicking on the Open button and going to the Excel 2007 Training Manual. Let's go to the resource sheet for Excel, see if there's anything in there. Right click on the collapsed view bar, go down to Resource Sheet. We've got a resource here. My question to you is, because we already have a resource here, what happens when I want to be able to pull in from the resource pool project file those resources? Is it going to overwrite my Writer 4 here? Let's go ahead and take a look. To go ahead and to be able to tap in or link to or have those resources in the pool be shared with this project here, you got to be able to open up the resource pool. Because if you don't and you try to share it, watch what happens. To share it, you want to come up here, click on the Tools menu, go down to Resource Sharing and click on Share Resources. It says right here, what resources do you want to use? From your own resources? Well, that's kind of a duh because it's right there. And then down below they have Use Resources, but from what? We can't select it because we don't have another project file open that allows us to select that option and to select that project file, which in this case is going to be the pool. Okay, so let's click Cancel and open up that pool. Come up here, click on the Open Folder button. Come down here, there's the Training Manual Resource Pool. Double click on it. It'll open it up, and that's fine. We'll just do it in read only and click OK. So we've got the resource pool. Let's go back to the Excel project file. And let's see what happens when we try to tap into that resource pool and be able to have those resources be shared over in here, that we can use those resources from the pool. Come up here, click on the Tools menu, go down to Resource Sharing, go over and click on Share Resources, and there you go. Now we have the option to choose Use Resources From because we have it open down below. As long as you have it open, you can share from any project, but again, we're trying to keep it simple. We want one project file that contains all our resources that will share to all our projects. Go ahead and select it, and then down below, by the way, it says on conflict with calendar or resource information. Either the pool is going to take precedence or the sharer. In other words, when you're sharing resources back and forth with all these other projects, and let's say there's a conflict, like with what you have in your calendar with what the pool is linking out to all these other projects, do you want to be able to take precedence over the pool, or do you want the pool to take precedence? I recommend the pool because that's where you're going to make your changes there and have it trickle down to all the projects, unless you're kind of stubborn and your project is the only one that really matters, and so yours will always take precedence or overwrite the pool. And the pool, you're going to have to collaborate on that, so at least that way they don't have to go, okay, who's the one that's taking precedence over all the resources? Well, if you leave it at the pool, then if there's any conflicts, it's going to be at the pool level and not at your own project level. Leave the default, go ahead and click OK, and watch what happens. Notice how we have the shared resources here, but also Writer 4. So it didn't overwrite our resource that we've added here, it just added a bunch more from the resource pool. We now have all the resources from our resource pool being pulled over here or being shared to our Excel 2007 Training Manual project. Remember, these were all the resources that are being shared, and before I shared it, I originally had this resource in my project, Writer 4. Now before we move any further, let's go ahead and click Save, but before I click Save, project's going to give us a warning. It's going to say, okay, of all the resources, remember that the pool takes precedence. So if I have an extra resource here that's not from the pool, and I go ahead and click Save and click OK with the update, because it wasn't originally in the pool, it's going to remove it from my list here, because when it matches and compares, what's not in the pool shouldn't be in here, so if there's any extras, it's going to delete it. For example, let me go ahead and click Save. It gives you the warning. Do you want to update the resource pool to reflect changes for all the open sharer projects? What's a sharer project? Well, a sharer project is anything that's not the pool, that the pool is sharing to. So the resources pool here, what it has in memory in the training manual is going to reflect over here. So if I go ahead and click OK, Writer 4 has disappeared. Why? Because it wasn't originally over here in the resource pool. So to get around that, what I recommend that you do, let me go back to the Excel project, is that when you have Writer 4 in here, before you click Save and update it, I would go ahead and assign that Writer 4 to an actual task. Let me put it this way. The training pool is going to have to accept it. So let's go ahead and try it. I'm going to go ahead and close out of here and close out of here. Let's go ahead and open up Excel again. This time we won't open up the resource pool. We'll just click OK and have no resources and manually write one in, which is our Writer 4. And we can type in the standard rate later. I want to go for the concept now. Let's go ahead and click Save. Close out. Now let's reopen up Excel. Double click on it. There's a Writer 4. We'll open up with the resource pool so we can see all of the resources from the pool that this project is being linked to, or taking the resources from that pool and pulling them over here, and also Writer 4. Now, like I said, before I click Save, and it gives me that warning, click Save, we'll click Cancel. We'll come over here and assign Writer 4 by right-clicking on the collapsed view bar, going to the Gantt chart, pick your task, and then go ahead and assign Writer 4 to it. Come up here, click on the two dudes who are assigned resources, and there's a listing again of all the resources, including, if I scroll down to the bottom, my Writer 4, click Assign, go ahead and close. Let me right-click and go back to the resource sheet, click Save, click OK, and Writer 4 stays. Now, when it stays, that means that the training manual has gone ahead and accepted the Writer 4, okay? So if I go ahead and close out of everything, go ahead and click on the Open button and double-click on Excel. Writer 4 is showing up here because he's actually been assigned to a task. And let's go ahead and open up the link to the resource pool and pull in all the other resources that are being shared from the resource pool. And so you're good to go. Now you won't lose your Writer 4 ever again, unless you close out of here, okay, and you don't save, and close out of the resource pool. Click Open and open up the resource pool, Training Manual Resource Pool here, double click, and you open up and read write, click OK. If somebody comes in here and selects Writer 4 and deletes it and clicks Saves, not only does it remove it from your resource sheet in your project, but it also actually unassigns it and removes it from your task. So you don't want to mess with this, okay? Okay, one last thing. Let me go ahead and close out of here, the resource pool, and let me open up Access. Access 2007, of course, is also linked to the resource pool using the resources from that file. Go ahead and click OK. Now in the Gantt chart, we have Writer 1 assigned to this task here. And the task is about, well, it looks like it begins on August 1st and goes through the 6th, okay? What I want to do is I want to be able to take Writer 1 and assign that same resource over in my Excel 2007 Training Manual project and see what happens, okay? Let me go ahead and close out of here. We won't save and close out of the resource pool. Open up. There's Excel, double click. Of course, we'll open up the resource pool link. Let's go to our Gantt chart by right-clicking on the collapsed view bar, selecting Gantt. And let me drag the divider bar over here. Again, there's the date. What I'm trying to do is I'm trying to get the resources working at the same time. And I want to see if it's really sharing, or if it'll tell me that if I had the resource working at the same time in two different projects, that if it'll flag it for me that this resource is over allocated. Go ahead and select it. Come up here, click on the two dudes. Let's scroll down and select Writer 1, click Assign. Go ahead and close out. Now let me go back to my resource sheet by right-clicking on the collapsed view bar, resource sheet. Yep, it tells me he's over-allocated. So what do I do? Well, where is he over-allocated on? In other words, which project is he over-allocated? What days? How do I figure this out? Well, you can handle this and resolve it one of two ways. You can either use the level resource feature, which will just go ahead and affect your project and take the resource and dump him on a day that he's not being used in another project or other projects, or you can come over here and right-click on the collapsed view bar and go down to resource usage. Here, Writer 1 has a listing of the two projects or the two tasks that he's working on in two separate projects. If you select the task and come up here and click on the Scroll to Task button, it'll take you over and notice that he's over allocated. He's working 8 hours here on that day, 8 hours there. Remember, our default working days are 8 hours, so it's 16 hours. So the question I have is, which is which? Is this the Examine software in my project or in Access, and vice versa? One thing we can do is we can go ahead and insert the project field to find out which task is pulling to which project or belongs to which project. Go ahead and right click on one of the column headers up at the top that we want to insert the project field or column in front of. Come down and click on Insert Column. Type in the letter P to go to the P's. Select Project, click OK, and let's double click in between those two headers so we can do a best fit, and whoa, here we go. Because of that address there, it's shooting it way out, so maybe we don't need to do that. Maybe we'll just click and drag that column header in just a little bit, but know that this is pulling from Access and this is pulling from Excel. So in another project that's on the desktop, you can say that, okay, they've got these days, so what I need to do is to be able to either bump my task out, push it out, so it's not on these same days here as apparently the project manager in Access 2000 has that task on, which would probably be the best, or if it's not too much, maybe give that resource overtime in your project. I mean, working 16 hours is enough to really wipe out anybody, so you may want to go ahead and push your task or delay it out, or like I said, you can use the resource level as we covered in a previous training video, but when you do that, it bumps it out, and you don't know where it bumps it out until you actually look at your Gantt chart or over here in your resource usage sheet to find out where the hours are at. So if you have to find out where project moved your task to, reassigned your task on what days, why don't you do it manually yourself? Because you have to move it to your specified days anyways, unless of course it's just too much and you'd rather not do it that way. So I'm going to come back over here and right click on the collapse view bar, go to my Gantt chart, and then either come over here and say that we're not going to start on August the 1st. Maybe we're going to start on August the 8th. And so how do we want to do this? Do we want to move the task to that date and remove the link in between the next task, or keep the link and go ahead and move it? Pushes everything over. Let's go ahead and right click on the collapse view bar, go back to our resource sheet, and he's no longer over allocated. Okay. Of course, we can hit undo again, push him back, and then we could level the resource. Select the task here, come up here and click on the Tools menu, go down to Level Resources, come down here and click on Level Now. Of course, we did it for the entire project here. Basically, it did the same thing. It just pushed the task out. It used to begin on August the 1st. Now it's, well, August the 7th, as opposed to me putting out to August the 8th. So actually, we saved a day. I would want to look at the dates closer to find out exactly when that resource in the other project is going to finish, so I can go ahead and have my resource, that same resource over here on my task, start just the day after. Okay, if we're good with everything, let's go ahead and click Save. Click OK to update it all. Let's go ahead and close out of everything. And then let's go back to our pool, finally. Click on the Open button, go back to our Training Manual Resource Pool. And again, how do I find out which projects my resource pool is sharing all the resources with? Well, just go ahead and open it up. Come up here, click on the Tools menu, go down to Resource Sharing, and then over and click on Share Resources. So when we began the previous training video, it was sharing with Access. Now we have it being shared with Excel. Thanks for watching. Hey, as a quick reminder, if you like my video, please give it a thumbs up. You can also click on me and subscribe to my channel, get notified of the latest videos, and for only $2 a month, you can have access to all my Microsoft Office training videos.